Yo, what is going on today, guys? We're back here for another meta report, and today we're going to be looking at some of the big tournaments of the week. We just had the biggest tournament of the week in around 480 players, the Pocket Mads number 10. And before we start looking at some of the deck lists and stuff like the metagame, I do want to basically point out one thing. So we have 4 tournaments basically open right now, and if we look at this one, we can see number 1 is Suicune Greninja. This one is Suicune Greninja. This one is Suicune Greninja, and the other one was won by Suicune Greninja. This is 100% no doubt in my mind the best deck in the game, and it's something that I've been saying on my tier list videos. Anyways, we're gonna kind of start in order. So first one, we're going to talk about the Storm. This is the one I actually ended up winning. I just uploaded the undefeated tournament video the other day, and basically nothing is really a surprise here. I mean, I've already showcased off my deck profile, so if you guys do want to go check that out, you can look at the last 2 videos. But besides that, it's just a bunch of Hydreigons, the Alteras, nothing really crazy. I just really want to look at the metagame. And as you can see here, Hydreigon was actually the most represented deck, as well as Falling Bot Altera. There was the 2 different Suicune variants, whether that be like the 2 Granny X one or like the one that usually plays in Deity now. Which I'm going to be honest, bro, as much as I meme about my Indeedee hate, like I don't like it in Suicune personally. Like I know it's pretty goated as long as you don't open it. I just hate opening it, bro, which is like why I don't play it. You can see here that like Crobat had 3 players, had a really high percent win rate. But besides that, it's just like the standard stuff. I'm basically just like looking at this so we can see like how that changes over time. You'd also see here that like Magnezone was like almost like basically unrepresented in this tournament, and then very bad as only 2 people ended up bringing it. Where we could then move on to the PLL, aka Pocket Legends League, and we can see here we already have 2 Magnezones in top 4. We can look at the metagame. And once again, Hydreigon is the most represented deck. I mean, I think the deck is extremely strong. The problem is the deck is like you have the copycats, don't get me wrong, but like it is a deck that lives and dies by that rare candy, because like a Mega Absol is not going to be able to solo the game. Then obviously Altera is like very consistent bad win rate though, because it's just very bad into Suicune, also pretty bad into stuff like Magnezone. Magnezone ended up becoming the 4th represented deck, because I'm just going to combine obviously, well technically Suicune is like the most represented deck if you want to count the 2 variants as the same, but they honestly do play a little bit different, so I'm not going to do that. But Magnezone is going to be the 5th most represented deck. Where like in the last tournament it had no representation and it had a positive win rate, so I mean I would say that's pretty decent. Once again, we have some Crobats like and stuff like that. We can look at the standings. Like I don't think there's anything too surprising here that we can't look at. I mean, we will be getting into the deck profiles. Actually, we have this like 18th place by Dragalge. I think I just actually pronounced that wrong once again, but we definitely take a look at that before we move on to the other tournament, because once we get to like the Pocket Mats tournament, that's when I'll look at all the deck lists for like Hydreigon, Suicunes, etc., as they are all like mostly basically the same. And I might as well just do it all at the end. However, shout out to FGR OG-san Anthe from Canada. We are going to be able to do this, or look at this. Ended up losing Top Cut, however, which is kind of depressing. Only thing they lost to was a Suicune and another Suicune. I mean, doesn't surprise me. Suicune is very good against these poison decks, but this is definitely cooking, bro. Like, I really like poison. Obviously, it's an underutilized EX Pokemon. It's a card that does not really see much play. So the fact that you're able to make Top Cut, only losing 1 match, is still really like something to be proud of. Double Copycat is, obviously nice. Find that poison bar, find the stage 1, find the Helgos to be able to place on the bench. Dark for the extra ping damage combined with the poison, plus the Mega Absol, which is like the last low kind of like game winner card. Get rid of those Cyruses and stuff, then win over your own Cyrus. So I like the deck, dude. You have the Leaf 2 for like the swap out plays with the Darkrai, plus the EX Pokemon, which I'm not going to pronounce because I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong anyways. But cool deck. Definitely love to see it. And let's move on to the 3rd tournament we're going to be talking about. Actually, I forgot to mention before we get into the tournament, I just want to say shout out to Froggy X Momo. You're the GOAT. You are someone from the Brick City Discord. Just wanted to say that. Now let's actually move on to the 3rd tournament. So speaking about Froggy X, I mean, we already talked about it, but this was actually run by Froggy X Newmantel, bro. These Froggy X people just be farming tournaments. Pretty good, they're pretty good tournament players. But Third Eye, which is the the GGB team I represent, we also have 3 tournament wins for 3 different players, so we're definitely some of the best tournament teams. But anyways, let's actually talk about a game. You can see here, bro, dominated by Suicune plus Hydreigon is like all you basically see when you do look at the standings. We can't go into the metagame. We can see Altera was the most represented deck. Terrible, absolutely terrible win rate, dude. And this doesn't really surprise me. I mean, looking at the bracket of all those Suicunes that ended up making top cut and like top placings, we actually have the Greninja Suicune variant that has a high percent win rate, and we have the other version which also has a positive. I actually was like tripping out, bro, but yeah, the Blaziken always has like a low win rate, bro, because I feel like a lot of people bring it in. It's like it's like a Stokes Art, bro. It's like a fire deck that we've always known. If the deck guess like a lucky bracket, bro, a lucky day. Like Blaziken is an extremely strong deck. It is just pretty inconsistent, I do have to say that. Once again, Magnezone is like the 5th most played deck. It has a terrible win rate, however, because of all the Hydreigons, dude. So just kind of like an unfortunate event for them. Now, looking at all this, bro, like if we look back at all these, basically the thing is like Hydreigon, Suicune, and Altera is that deck fighting for number 1. And we have those other decks such as like the Blazikens, the Magnezones, the Darkrai Absols, and everything kind of under that is like fighting for those like other top 5, top 6 spots. And now let's move on to the most prestigious, event of the week. I cannot talk, bro. I'm not gonna cap, bro. It's been a minute since I recorded one of these videos. But yeah, let's move on to Pocket Maz and just check out the metagame real quick. So once again, Indeedee is the most represented deck, and you can see here once again has a negative win rate. And you know what? Doesn't surprise me, dude. Top 3 decks are going to be, or even like top 4 decks are always just the 2 different Suicune variants and Hydreigon. Hydreigon also not having the best win rate, and both the Suicune variants actually being positive, as well as Magnezone is actually having a positive win rate again. Probably thanks to, the Hydreigon's not doing so good in this tournament. Besides that, we have the Decidueyes, the Blazikens, those rare candy decks that are not doing too hot. We have the Greninja Absols, which like that's like a fake deck, right? That's like one of those Exodia decks where like it works. We have Greninja Oricorio, which we are definitely going to be talking about, bro. That is like the main deck we want to be talking about for this video. 67% win rate brought by 4 different players. And real quick, we can just move on to the top cut day 2. Suicune dominated, bro. Both of them had a really high percent win rate. Greninja Oricorio has an insane win rate of 80%. We have the Greninja Zeroras also, bro, stuff like that, which is just some crazy decks we got to talk about. Besides that, like Altera and Top Cut, like I had a fine time, never mind. This version did. I don't know what the difference is, but the tried and true like 1 and DD package had a terrible time. Hydreigons ended up clutching back up, bro, and Top Cut having a good win rate compared to Swiss. Anyways, enough yapping about the metagame. I think it's time to go into the standings and start taking a look at the deck profiles and looking at these decks and the new way people are actually running them. So first off, we actually have 3 different Suicune lists. We have obviously the 2 from the Pocket Maz, the one that got 1st place, the one that got 3rd place, as well as the Froggy X Momo deck list from POL. So this is the one that ended up winning Pocket Maz, which is the 480 person tournament, and it's basically the classic Indeedee. As much as I like the meme about the Indeedee being terrible in the deck, I do actually understand that it is like really good value as long as you don't open it. Like it's only bad card when you open it, which is for me is pretty high odds, but like it's really good. Don't get me wrong. I know it's a top deck. They're only running 2 regular Greninjas and 1 Greninja EX, which is something that like this deck is definitely more Suicune focused, because you have the ping damage, you have the double Cyrus as well for those double Greninjas, the 1 Irida because you also have the Indeedee, plus only the 1 Giant Cape, which I think definitely sucks. I think it is definitely something that I don't like, but at the same time you have the Copycat, so it should be pretty easy to 1 find that cape, or like 2 get actually a Greninja EX set up as well, which I actually like the Copycat. Copycat is extremely broken. It is definitely a card I wish I would run a mine, and I'm actually experimenting maybe playing that, but yeah. This is the version that ended up getting 1st place. I feel like this is more of like a tried and true Suicune variant over like a Greninja EX variant. So if you are looking to play something that's a little bit more like the Suicune from Secluded Springs, I definitely recommend this version. We also have another Indeedee variant from the person who won PLL, Froggy X Momo, who was actually playing a more of a Greninja EX Indeedee focus build with only 1 Greninja and 2 Greninja EXs. They only have 1 Cyrus and 2 capes instead of like the reverse ratios, because it makes more sense. You only have 1 non-EX Greninja, and the 2 capes are going to be very important to let stuff live. So I kind of like this version of the deck more, because I just think Greninja EX is very broken. But yeah, obviously both variants are good. It kind of depends. Obviously the 2 non-EXs are better in the stuff like Oricorio and stuff that is going to be setting up on the bench, and then the Greninja EX is going to be better for stuff that wants to take damage like the Blazikens, the Hydreigons. Anyways, so there is 1 more Suicune variant, which obviously does not play the Indeedee package. This is going to be the deck list that I ended up going undefeated with in the Storms tournament, as well as ended up getting 3rd place in Pocket Maz. I'm very happy that this deck actually got 3rd place in Pocket Maz, just to prove that the deck is actually still good. Anyways, yeah, it's just the 2-1-2-1. We talked about it in the last 2 videos, but like it's more of a Greninja EX focus deck. You have the 2 capes and the 2 Iridas because you really want to let the Suicune and everything live. 1 Mars and the 1 Cyrus. The Froggator is definitely the flex slot. I've seen some people take it out, run a Copycat. Definitely up to personal preference. I really like it. I also value Copycat as well. So I'm going to be trying out the Copycat build, I think, going into rank maybe later today or tomorrow whenever I do end up streaming again. But I think this deck is very good. It is definitely a little bit more bricky than the other variants because of no copycat. At the same time, like, it just kind of is what it is. Real quick, we could just take a look at this Hydreigon list that ended up getting 4th place by Jackokind. Once again, congrats to you. And this is actually a Chingling Hydreigon build. A lot of people have not been playing Chingling and actually been playing the non-EX Absol, you know, for the bench snipe abilities. But the Chingling variant is still strong. I mean, Chingling is just one of the greatest cards in the game. It's just kind of awkward to put in certain decks. I think the deck that like is best in is obviously Altera. Hydreigon definitely makes a lot of sense though because it is a rare candy deck. And yeah, I feel like it's just a deck, you know, we've seen before. Like, I'm pretty sure one of the Froggy X people ended up winning a tournament or getting like 2nd place with like a very similar variant. Although they actually had like 2 XPs, I'm pretty sure, in this build. I like the PCO and the Rocky helmet, plus like the 1 Cyrus. I personally think this is cool if you are looking for like a Chingling Hydreigon build. We will be looking at some more standard Hydreigon builds going into you know, more of the standings. But let's move on to the 2 decks that I'm really interested to talk about. All right, in 5th place and 8th place, bro, we got our boys Marinara Man as well as Jimbo. We got to take a look at this Greninja Oricorio deck that they ended up both bringing in the make top 8. Both of them are using slightly different support cards, so we will be looking at both of these lists. The one from Jimbo is very standard. It's just playing 2 Rocky Helmets, 2 Copycats, 2 Cyruses, bro. The Professor Researches, the Archanges, the Pokeball. This deck is Para Lightning, just an FYI, because, you know, you want to be able to attack with the Zera Aura as double lightning. The Greninjas are there just for the ping damage. I'm sure in certain matchups, I'm not sure if it's allowed. It's only allowed in some tournaments that you could probably switch the energy. Like, maybe you could switch them. But, you know, Paraelectric with the Zera and the Oricorio just make a lot of sense to me. Marinara Man is playing the same list. However, instead of the 2 Rocky Helmets, we have the 1 PCO and the 1 Giant Cape. Obviously, in certain scenarios, each other version is very nice, but it kind of just all depends on the matchup. Real quick, let's just take a look at what they ended up facing. Marinara Man actually was going undefeated, beating a bunch of Suicunes until eventually losing to a Suicune in top 8. They ended up losing to the 2 regular Suicune deck, like the, you know, the one that's only playing 1 EX. So that kind of makes sense to me because, you know, Double Greninja is just really good against stuff like Oricorio. And Jimbo actually was able to make a comeback, dude. They ended up losing 2 rounds and went undefeated. Obviously not went undefeated, but was able to win every other round of top cut, or not top cut, Swiss to make top cut, which is actually an amazing feat because there's a lot of times where, like, you, like, personally for me, dude, if I drop like a 0-2, I'm dropping out of the tournament, bro. I'm not playing 5 rounds just in case I lose one more. However, they didn't end up dropping out. Once again, bro, congrats to Jimbo the GOAT. You can find him on YouTube, like Jimbo Pokemon Pocket. And they lost to Hydreigon. I mean, what? No, like, I know they beat a Hydreigon, bro, in Swiss, but, like, let's be real for a second. Hydreigon just sweeps the deck, bro. It literally just boom, boom, explodes everything. So it doesn't surprise me. But they farmed the Suicunes as well as the Magnezones. Like, they only lost the Mickey Mouse, Jolteon, and the Decidueye. Which Decidueye also doesn't, like, what is this deck doing to the Decidueye, bro, through hills? So it makes sense to me why they lost. Anyways, once again, congrats to the boys for making top 8. We had a Blaziken making top 8. Blaziken is a deck that's not very, like, consistent getting these top 8s, but there's always a couple of them that end up making very far in the bracket. Yep, it's just the standard Blaziken build. Double Rocky Helmet, double Cyrus, 1 Flame Punch, 1 Lily, and 1 Copycat. Some people play like double Copycat and 1 Cyrus. Like, some people play 1 Rocky Helmet, double Copycat with like 1 Cyrus, or like 2 Cyruses, 2 Copycats, and like only 1 Rocky Helmet. Really just like those specific ratios. Obviously, Rocket Helmet is really nice. And the fact that they only had 1 Copycat, I'm just going to say, bro, they probably do very good this tournament to be able to make top 8. We're going to take a look at a Magnezone list because the Magnezone list has changed. So this is the main Chingling version that everybody has been bringing. However, some people have been cutting the Chingling, adding something like a Guzma, which I think is like low-key better. I think Chingling is very awkward in Magnezone personally. Obviously, they still made a pretty far in bracket, so it is still a good variant. However, I think the Guzma is low-key kind of broken. Plus, sometimes like the Chingling is awkward. If you don't start it, it kind of clogs up a Pokeball sometimes when you are trying to find that Magnemite. So I'm not the huge fan of Chingling outside of Altera personally, even though it's like one of the best cards in the game. Besides that, we have Key, who is using Hydreigon for top 16. I feel like this is like the more standard version of Hydreigon going forward, but like people are not playing the Chingling, people are playing the non-EX Absol, like I said, for the bench damage. The Sabrina, the Cyrus, the Red Card, the double Copycat, plus the Rocky Helmets. I feel like this is the most standard version that you see in stuff like ranked. So this is definitely the way I would personally play it if I was playing a Hydreigon deck. Unfortunately, I can never find rare candy. And one more thing to note out, bro, is like Altera wasn't able to make it into the top 16. They ended up losing in top 32. We could take a look. And this is definitely an interesting take on the list because they are actually playing May and Copycat. And I'm trying to think, what are they not bringing, bro? I guess they're only playing one Rocky Helmet in favor for that extra consistent. Like low-key, bro, like Pokeball May, 2 Lucias and a copycat. Kind of crazy work, bro, but obviously they ended up making it. Most lists like don't play the May. They play either like second Rocky Helmet or they sometimes play like Red Card and Mars. So, you know, obviously personal preference. But I guess the May is, you know, nice to sometimes find this non-EX Altera when you do end up needing it in case you needed like out an Oricorio for those Magnezone matchups that are like rising back up. And there is one more deck I want to talk about, not in the Pocket Match tournament, but it is actually in I think PLL, or no, actually it's Imperium, which we actually ended up not like forgetting to talk about. Yeah, so Umbra ended up making 20th place with Umbreon Leafeon. Ended up losing to a Blaziken. Does not surprise me, but was actually farming for the most part a decent amount of Suicunes. And I just don't know, man. I just don't get how these Umbreons keep making top cut. We have the one Leafeon, the one Umbreon EX, and the one non-EX Umbreon with the 2 EVs. 2 Nihilgos, and the Mega Absol. Actually, we have 3 EVs as a matter of fact. The Double Poison Barb, the Cyrus. Like, obviously, like, you have the one Umbreon EX, but, like, you know, not having to go into that sometimes is nice. Like, in case you need to finish off the Mega Absol. Double XP, double Copycat. Like, props to you, bro. Umbreon, I don't know how they do it. These Umbreon players always have, like, a good placing, like, once every 2 weeks. And then the deck doesn't do anything else. So, I'll wait in 2 weeks for another one. But this deck is definitely cooking if you are looking for an Umbreon deck to try out unranked. Anyways, I think that does it for the video. Let me know which deck you like the most. Let me know how you feel about the meta, because I personally feel like the meta is going pretty great. Like, I know it's not the best because like it is very mega dominated plus Suicune. I know a lot of people don't like Suicune, but I've been having a lot of blast personally because it is pretty diverse at the end of the day. Even though if the game is kind of like copycat sacky at the moment in certain situations. Peace out. Have a lovely day as always.